Good morning, church. So glad to see you all here today. Let's just stand and worship together this morning. My story isn't over, my story's just begun. And failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. And failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Arrival's not the end game, the journey's where you are. You never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good. And failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Ooh, and lay your burdens down. Shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Prodigals come home, the helpless find hope. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Sing it out. Prison doors fling wide, the dead come to life. Love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place, cynical find faith. Oh, love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Jericho walls are quaking, strongholds now are shaking. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Oh, love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Ooh, and lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Sing prodigals, let me hear you. Prodigals come home. Prison doors fling wide, the dead come to life. is on the move when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place, the cynicals find faith. Oh, love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Jericho walls are quaking, strongholds now are shaking. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Oh, love is breaking through when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. Oh, give him praise. Jesus, you are in this house today. We can feel your presence all around your house today, God. We just ask that your presence continues to move as we continue to worship this morning. In your name we ask and pray. We love you. Amen.
You go before. I know that you've even gone to win my war. Your love becomes a great of my enemy. You come back and you call it my victory. Oh. You go before. I know that you've even gone to win my war. Your love becomes my greatest defense. It leads me from the dry wilderness, and all I did was pray.
last several days, there's just something pressed on my heart. That somebody was going to walk in the doors of this place today asking God to be their defender. Somebody's been seeking to let God fight your battle. You've been trying to do it all by yourself. You're tired, you're broken, the walls are up, and you're so tired of fighting. And God spoke to my heart and he said, somebody's going to let it go today. Somebody needs to lay it down. They need to surrender everything. So I just want to give somebody space to do that right now. We're going to ask you to sing this with us. Child of God. One more time, you split. Oh, you split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I could stand and say, I am a child of God. I am a child of God. Oh, yes, I am a child of God. Come on, somebody let out a victory cry this morning. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child. I'm no longer a slave to fear. I am a child of God. Jesus, what a privilege to be known and to be loved by you. God, we serve a miracle working God. Only a miracle working God can take a man in the tomb dead for 4 days and to call his name and he come out. Only a miracle working God can place his son in the tomb on Friday and bring it back to life on the third day. Only a miracle working God can take a marriage that seems dead and bring it back to life. Only a miracle working God can take a child that's gone prodigal, gone astray, that's been given to the Lord, and then all of a sudden, God, you bring them back. Only our God can do that. God, help us to stop fighting, striving, we're tired. Will you be our defender? Will you split the sea so we can walk right through it? God, show us your ways. Give us your strength. Jesus, we love you. We're thankful for your sacrifice. It's in the name, the most powerful name, the King of Kings, the name above all names, Jesus, that we pray. And the church said together, amen. You may be seated.
How was dance today? Good.
It's being signed, filled with gold. That'll be a trip.
Dad.
Well, good morning, church. Are you glad you're here? I hope so. Hey, well, let's do something real quick. I want you, those of you in the room, I want you to give a big welcome, a big cheer to those watching online this morning. Can let them hear you. They can hear you. Let them hear it. Let's go. Woo! Man, we're just so blessed that we can do this. We can be here, and those at home or throughout the week can watch and benefit from what God's doing. Week 3 of Win at Home. I hope you're having as much fun as I am during this series. We've talked about the reality that Jesus promised, in this world you will have trouble. He said, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Even if Jesus had never told us we would face trouble, by experience alone we could confirm it and know that we're living it. But during this series, we've posed this question, or we've posed this thought. Based on the fact that you cannot get out of the trouble in the world, I think what's even worse than that is knowing that we will face trouble at home. Knowing that we've got to come home from the trouble and face it in our own houses, or facing it in our home, knowing that we're going to go out in the world and live it too. We are living in the reality of man's mess. The mess started in the Garden of Eden when Adam and Eve chose to sin, when they chose to disobey God, and ensued the mess of sin, evil that we know to be reality. And God laid out this ideal in Scripture. Now, that's the ideal that we've been making light of during this series. We've been reading it from Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. Today, I want to reiterate it from Genesis chapter 2, verses 15 through 25. God is laying the groundwork, the framework for what family, what homes should look like, the ideal. Genesis 2, verse 15, the Lord God took the man, put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. This is pre-sin. So those of you that have been blaming having to work on Adam and Eve's sin, you've been giving them too much credit. It's not their fault that you have to work. Work was there before sin, so stop complaining about it. Hard work, that's a different story. Toil and just sweat of your brow, yeah, I get that. But work was there before the sin, so don't blame them for that. The Lord God commanded the man, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat from it, you'll certainly die. The Lord God said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I'll make a helper suitable for him. I think this was when the phrase man's best friend got started. You know what I mean? Like, it don't say nothing about man's best cat. It says man's best friend. It's a dog. It's right here. It said, so the Lord God formed out of the ground all the wild animals and all the birds in the sky, brought them to the man to see what he would name them, and whatever the man called each living creature, that was its name. Some of those I wonder why he did what he did, but can I make sure I'm not crazy real quick? Earlier this week, did anybody go outside and the birds around where you were going crazy? Can I? I'm not crazy, right? I mean, they were going nuts. I mean, it was like this thunderous noise, and they're up in the trees. I'm like, they're trying to come get me? Good. I'm so glad I'm not crazy. I thought I was going crazy. I tried to tell Keisha about it, and she's like, what are you talking about? And then I have to go in a store while they're at gymnastics, and I come out, and Keisha's hanging out the window. Look, there's the birds. I saw it. Yes. Nothing to do with my message, so here we go. The man gave the names to all these animals, but then it says, right at the end of verse 20, but for Adam no suitable helper was found. The animals just weren't doing it. So the Lord God caused the man to fall into a deep sleep. While he was sleeping, he took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then the Lord God made a woman from the rib he had taken out of the man, and he brought her to the man. The man said, this is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, for she was taken out of man. That is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. Adam and his wife were both naked, and they felt no shame. Jesus confirmed this in Matthew chapter 19, verses 4 through 6. I'm going to read it this morning from the Passion Translation. Here's what it says. Haven't you read the scriptures about creation? Jesus replied, the Creator made us male and female from the very beginning. And for this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and live with his wife. The two will become one flesh. From then on, they are no longer two, but united as one. So what God unites, let no one divide. What we gather from these passages of Scripture is God's ideal home. The ideal home that God put in place was mom and dad, or husband and wife without kids, or mom and dad raising a family under one roof. Now, I've made very clear that many of you and many of those that we love, many of those that they work with and go to school with, are not able to live this ideal. They're living what we call reality. I also made note last week from when we read 1 Corinthians chapter 7 that singleness and marriage are both gifts from God. We read 1 Corinthians 7 and Paul's basically saying, look, I'm single. I'm not married. I'd love for all of you to stay that way because I know what happens. I know some of the things that go on in a marriage, and it's tough sometimes. I'd love for you to stay single, but that's not possible for some of you, so you should get married. And then he says both singleness and marriage are gifts from God. So if you're single, if you're widowed, widower, divorced, it doesn't matter. Never been married, never want to get married, or you want singleness is just as much of a gift as marriage. Don't let anybody ever tell you different. Keisha and I went to premarital counseling right before we got married with a professor on our campus at Southern Wesleyan. She was finished with school. I had 1 year left, and so we got married right before my senior year of college. My grandparents actually told us, they said, why are you going to wait to get married? There's no reason for that. My granddad, who passed away now, he said, there's no reason for you to wait. He said, Josh, you need to get married. Don't worry about finishing school. She said, me and Grandma got married before I finished school, and my grades actually went up. And when after Keisha and I got married, I made the dean's list. So there you go. But Keisha and I went to premarital counseling, and one of the first questions that was asked of us was, how many kids do you want? 2. What I said right out of the gate. I was like, I'm staking my claim now, And she said 4. I want 4. We got 2. We ain't got no plans. God better not have any either. But somebody told us right up front when we had kids, they said the days will seem very long, but the years will be awfully short. I shared this with the first. I'll share it with you guys. Keisha and I actually have 3 kids. We have one, our first in heaven. We lost the first one, and so then we have Addison and Jordan. So I have every reason to believe that we will see that child in heaven when we get there. We'll get to experience eternity with all of our children. I think it's a boy, but, it was too early to know, so we'll just leave it at that. But I'll never forget the weekend. It was Good Friday. Keisha woke me up about 4:30 that Good Friday morning, and she said, something's wrong. I'm feeling some pain, and she just didn't feel great, and so we went to the hospital. We were expecting Addison at the time, and we get there, and 15 hours later, Addison's here. And we shared the weekend together, and then it was Easter weekend. So, I mean, that's like opening day for every pastor church. You know, you got to be there on Easter. And so my mom and dad were there, and they came to stay with Keisha at the hospital. And I go to the church, and we had baptisms planned this day. We'd made all these plans. So I went to church, and then I came back to the hospital. We loaded this 5-pound, 8-ounce baby into the car seat. We had to put blankets around it so that she would actually fit in the car seat. And we put her in there, and we started to put her in the car, and we're like looking at the nurse, and she's like, good luck. It's all on you now. And this fear and this insecurity, like, are we allowed to do this? Or are they going to let us go with this child? But we got in the car, we drove home. I think I drove 30 miles per hour. Keisha sat in the back with the baby. I don't know the rules. I don't know the unwritten rules about that, but you got to ride in the back. You know what I mean? Like, mom's just got to ride in the back for a while. And we get home, my parents had made these meals for us. They cleaned our house, and so they went on their way. And we had all these plans to take a nap that Sunday afternoon. You know, first home from the hospital. And we had the pack and play right beside our bed, and we laid Addison down in the bed, and our dog Buster, a little Dotson devil of a dog, he tried to jump in the pack and play right as we're about to take a nap. I've got a pretty short fuse when it comes to messing with my kids and my sleep. And so I said, that's it. We no longer have a dog. I called Keisha's mom. I said, Deb, you need to meet me in Hendersonville. We lived in Brevard at the time. That was halfway between, Hendersonville was halfway between Brevard and Landrum. I get in the car. I threw Buster in there with all his things, and I drove and met her. I said, this is now your dog. Have fun. And they have this dog to this day, man. He's an old man now, but they still have Buster. I'll never forget the first time Keisha gave Addison a bath. And Addison comes out of the tub, and she's shaking so hard that she's so cold. And I walk in the bathroom, I hear this awful crying come from the bathroom. And I go in there, I said, why are you crying? And she goes, I think I broke the baby. She's shaking, I don't know what to do. I said, I think she needs a blanket. So then I took Addison into her bedroom and that she never used for a year, and I went in there to change her diaper, and I can't say the word that what happened when I started changing the diaper because that's inappropriate for church, but it was that thing when someone passes gas and then a little poop comes out. She did that on my hand. So let's say someone comes up to you and says, we're going to send a terrorist to live with you for 18 years. You wouldn't agree to that. And yet we have kids, you know, I'm like, we just keep, because babies say, what's in it for me? And I want my way. That's what babies are all about. What's in it for me? And I want my way. Addison stole my spot in bed. I didn't get married to sleep with my kids. I got married to sleep with my wife. I'm very adamant. If somebody comes up to me and says, our kids sleep with us, it's like, good luck. I mean, if you're married, you share a bed and you share a bank account. Those are two things that will go a long way. Addison took her money. We were so tired one night, we didn't think we mixed the formula correctly. Is that scoop 15 or is that scoop 16? And we start, oh my God, I hope she's okay. You know, I hope it's not too much. Or you buy the concentrated thing and you don't know it's concentrated and you just give it to them straight and all of a sudden they're screaming with a terrible, yeah, we did that too. But most importantly, Addison took my sleep. And very early on, I was confronted as a dad with this thought. What's in it for me? And I want it my way. Quickly went out the door. This baby was not living by the law of Christ. They did not have an others first mentality. Let me show you what children act. Watch this video. I got permission to play this, by the way.
Come on, let's get your clothes on for school.
No, I don't want to. I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school.
Why not?
I don't want to.
Well, Gingy's going to ride with us.
No.
Addison, 2014, right? I mean, I don't know what else I bribed her with. I was going to let the dog ride with us to school. I'm sure I promised that I'd take her to the mall to eat lunch after when I picked her up. She loved going to Sabero and eating that little pasta ziti they had, so I'd bribe her with that most days, you know. When I get you, we'll go to the mall. Come on, let's get ready for school. You see, the law of Christ, Jesus said, love one another. How will we do that? As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. You see, folks, the gospel is centered on an others-first lifestyle. And I want to say this up front because, man, I've screwed it up so many times. Just because I had parents doesn't mean I know anything about being one. And just because I was a kid one time doesn't mean I know anything about raising one. But if we are going to win at parenting, raising kids, you might not be a mom, you might be a grandparent, you might be an aunt or an uncle, you might be helping your family raise their kids, you might be single, you might be in a broken home, you might be widowed, you might be a grandparent, an aunt or an uncle, it doesn't matter. Listen, everybody sitting in this room, if you've sat through a baby dedication at a church or our church, you have committed to help raising kids. So it doesn't matter if you have them physically or not, you are a part of this. Because parenting, raising kids, is about preparing them for their ideal future. Just because you're not living the ideal situation doesn't mean that you can't prepare them for theirs. A vision for what God has for them. So what do? The imperfect parents must take their cues from the ultimate Father with the perfect Son. The imperfect parent must take their cues from the ultimate Father with the perfect Son. And what is God? God is love. God is love. In 1 John, the writer of John starts to lay out what this really means. We knew that God was love, but the writer of 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 19, this is how he puts it. Dear friends, let us love one another. He's reiterating the law of Christ, others first. For love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. Whoever does not love does not know God, because God is love. This is how God showed his love among us. Ultimate Father sends his one and only Son, perfect Son, into the world that we might live through him. This is love, not that we loved God, but that he loved us and sent his Son as an atoning sacrifice for our sins. Dear friends, since God so loved us, we also ought to love one another. No one's ever seen God, but if we love one another, God lives in us and his love is made complete in us. This is how we know that we live in him and he's in us. He has given us his Spirit. And we have seen and testified that the Father has sent his Son to be the Savior of the world. If anyone acknowledges that Jesus is the Son of God, God lives in them and they in God. And so we know and rely on the love God has for us. God is love. Everybody say that together. God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them. This is how we know. This is how love is made complete among us so that we will have confidence on the day of judgment. In this world, we are like Jesus. There's no fear in love. But perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. We love because he loved us first. God's love, he is love. So he sends Jesus to be the tangible expression of it. How do we know this? John chapter 1, it says the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Jesus personified God's character. Jesus, in Mark 10:45, it says, for even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Jesus personified the command he gave as an others first mentality, and he literally went and laid down his life for us. He went to the cross and paid for our sin.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John chronicle the story of Jesus' life. But based on eyewitness accounts and the experiences of the Apostle Paul, he began to write about this Jesus and how to tangibly live out the person of Jesus. All throughout 1 Corinthians, 2 Corinthians, Romans, Ephesians, Philippians, Galatians, Colossians, 1 and 2 Thessalonians. Literally almost all of the New Testament after the Gospels is saying, here's how to tangibly live out what Jesus did. Philippians, great example. Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 through 8, Paul's writing, he says, listen, therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ. What's he saying? Listen, if you believe in this, if you've staked your life on this, if you put your faith in Jesus, if you've gotten anything from it, if you have found any comfort from His love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition. What do babies do? They're selfish. It's all about them. As the Bible begins to explain our growth in Christ, he says that's no longer acceptable as an adult. Don't do anything out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, here it is, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of others. And then watch this. In your relationships. Well, which ones? Which ones are you talking about, Josh? Because here's what I think we are really bad at as Christians. We do a good job of proving it out in the world, putting on a facade that somehow we're a great family and that we posted the 50th picture because 49 times we almost beat each other up. Are you with me? We do such a good job of showing the world that we're good at relationships, but we disregard it when we walk through the doors of our own houses. In your relationships with one another, there's no exceptions. There's no getting out of this. Have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, who being in very nature God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to His own advantage. Rather, He made Himself nothing, others first, by taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man, He humbled Himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. He laid down His life for me and for you, the imperfect, awful person. Paul's saying, listen, here's how to tangibly live out the expression of God's love. He even devoted a whole section about home relationships in Colossians 3, 18 through 21. I'm going to read from the Passion Translation. He says, let every wife be supportive and tenderly devoted to her husband, for this is a beautiful illustration of our devotion to Christ. Let every husband, you don't get out of this. Let every husband be filled with cherishing love for his wife and never be insensitive towards her. I want to talk to moms and dads. I want to talk to the married couples in the room with kids for just a moment. And I also want to talk to the married couples in the room who have children watching them. You might not have kids, but you've got nieces and nephews. You've got kids at church. You've got family. You've got kids watching this. Married couples in the room. When it comes to parenting, your marriage matters. The best thing that you can do for your kids is to give them a healthy, not perfect, but a healthy marriage. Put it this way. So many families, they get married and they have kids, and the kids become the centerpiece. Yeah, we got teens and kids in here. Like, this is not a knock on you. You're important. You're loved. But your parents also love each other. You were a family before you ever had kids. They were not the centerpiece. They were the welcome addition. Watch this. It addresses the children too. Let the children respect and pay attention to their parents in everything, for this pleases our Lord Jesus. We're going to talk more about that next week. I'm really pumped. The message to complete this series is called Winning at Growing Up and Getting Old. Isn't that cool? Like, we're going to have so much fun with that next week. I can't wait. And then it addresses the fathers. And fathers, don't have unrealistic expectations for your children, or else they may become discouraged. If God is love, and we are going to tangibly express that love to our family, then we have to take our cues from Jesus, the perfect Son with the ultimate Father. 3 things to finish up this morning. Number 1, or part A, and to God is love, be present. Be present. Listen, you can't lead if you aren't present. Amen? You can't love if you aren't present. That's why I challenged you last week to take the 5 love languages test. Husband, wife, mom, dad, kids, we all need to take it. You can't love somebody you don't know. It's impossible. You don't know how they receive it. Listen, take the love languages test. If your kids are quality time or their physical touch and you're gone all the time, they'll never know you love them. You try to take them and do stuff, they don't care. They just want to listen. We know this. Our kids, Addison is quality time and probably words of affirmation. Jordan is gifts and physical touch. And you're like, how do you manage that? Well, we take Addison on a trip and buy Jordan a souvenir. I mean, that pretty much sums it up, And what's crazy is Addison's quality time, she wants to be together, but she don't really like you to touch her. I mean, she's like her aunt. When you give her a hug, it's like hugging a tree. She's like, goes to the side. She kind of leans in and like, okay, give me a hug. Like Jordan, boy, she'll grab your neck and just put it all on you and say, I love you, Daddy. I love you, Mom. Come give me a hug. Give me a kiss, Mommy or Daddy. But you better buy her a gift first. Listen, so many of us, we think that it's important to buy presents. They don't want that. They want your presence. There's a big difference. Why? Because in a home, love is spelled Time. Love is time. Without time, there is no tangible expression of love. And so I want to challenge. This is challenge part A, next step for today. I've got another one at the end. But right here, I'm calling this the Be Present Challenge. Families, unless it's a phone call, a text message, an email, like necessities, paying bills, you got to look at the weather app to see what you need to send your kids. Out the door for the day. You got to check this now, right? We're living in this. It was crazy. Like, hey, everybody got a coat? Everybody got your mask? Get your coat, get your mask. You got shoes on? It's fine. You forgot your shoes, you forgot your coat, get your mask, we'll be fine. We can make it. Who says that? We're going to go back and listen to this message. Grab your, what? Unless you have to do something that is an absolute necessity on your smartphone, let's do this for a week. The Be Present Challenge. Eliminate all other things that aren't necessary to spend time together as a family. Be Present Challenge. Part B. Wouldn't you know that I knew I was going to preach this message today, and the day before preaching this message, I am challenged by the very points I'm going to make? Because part B is be patient. We got be patient. Why? Because love is patient. Love is patient. Part B, be patient. Yesterday afternoon, we've been doing stuff all day, and we get into the day, and there's a couple times, I don't know why, I flew off the handle a little bit. I got a little irritable with the kids, and Keisha looked at me, and she goes, why are you so impatient today? And don't be mad that they called you out. Like, self-awareness is key. And sometimes you need somebody to call you out, because in the moment, you don't know what you're doing. And somebody else, why are you being like that? Why are you being so impatient? What's your deal? Be patient. Love is patient. Patience is moving at someone else's pace. Patience is moving at someone else's pace. I probably should change how we are, but I'm the dad that, like, we got to leave by 8, and it's 7:59. Get your stuff. Let's go. Get in the car. Get your mask. Get your coat. Come on. It's fine. Leave it. Let's go. Come on. We got to make it. Been ready for 30 minutes, like kids. Sometimes our kids looking at, why we got to hurry, Daddy? I really don't know. Impatience is my nemesis. But I'm going to tell you something. Your kids will not be able to see love through impatience. And part C, be kind. Be kind. Why? Because love is kind. Kindness is the tangible expression of God's love. If you're taking notes, you need to write that down. Kindness is the tangible expression of God's love. It's why hatefulness does so much damage and why kindness breeds life. 2020, man, for us was the year of being hateful. Come on, somebody, right? Let's own it. Let's just own it. This is why we don't look at the imperfect parent. This is why we take our cues from the ultimate father with the perfect son. What does the Bible say? He says that God's kindness leads to repentance. You see, our kindness to our family proves, and it proves that we prioritize relationship over rules. I can remember the day, and I'll talk more about this next week, but I'll remember the moment that my parents finally realized that I was not as smart as my sister. You been there? They finally got it. I was doing my best most of the time. And they were ragging me about my grades, man. I was just not doing well in school, and I finally said, Dad, Mom. And it was in that moment that they realized that all of a sudden their kindness was never more real to me. And they said, son, do your best. And in that moment, it clicked that my parents prioritized their relationship over the rules. I'll never forget some of the trips that they took us on because my parents prioritized relationships over experience. They wanted us to experience things together. So my question this morning before we close is, what if 1 Corinthians chapter 13 has nothing to do with a wedding at all? What if 1 Corinthians 13 has everything to do with how we treat each other at home? Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. It doesn't dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. One of the hardest things that's been for our church during the last year has been how we love and lead your kids and your teens. We've had services for a while, but figuring out how to get things into the hands of our kids and our teens and leading them and loving them and showing them how much we love them and how much we want them to learn about Jesus on their level has been difficult. And the reality at this church is that we want you to win at home. I mean, that's the whole deal, isn't it? That's what this whole series is about. We want you to win at home. So today I want to unapologetically reconfirm and recommit to your kids and to your teens and that we are committed to teaching them about Jesus on their level. Why do I say that? I say that because success as a church family means having a succession plan in place. This thing has to live on past us. It's why in Deuteronomy 6 it said, hey, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength. Listen, talk about it at home. Talk about it when you get up, when you lay down. Tell your kids about it. Teach them everything. We are not going to become the Judges 2:10 generation where a whole generation grows up and doesn't know God or doesn't know what He's done for us. We have to let them know we're committed to it. Why? Because the stronger you are at home, the stronger we'll be as a church. The more we can take on the world, the more that we can preach the gospel and tangibly express His love to this generation and the next generation and the next generation. You say, Josh, I'm not perfect. I'm living reality. I'm a single mom. I'm a single dad. I'm a grandparent helping. I'm an aunt or an uncle. I don't have kids or I want kids. Josh, I'm not perfect. Good. Neither am I. It's why the Bible says train up a child in the way that they should go, not train up a child in the way you went. Train up a child in the way they should go. What does that mean? That means showing them what their ideal future should look like and can look like. So with every head bowed and every eye closed, nobody looking around this morning. I don't know about you, but man, we live in such a world, man, that we're facing so many impossible situations. Man, we're facing a culture faster than we can keep up. We're facing the realities of the evil in the world that we live in. But just because there's a reality that you face right now different than what you had hoped for, doesn't mean that we can't point the kids in our lives to their ideal. It doesn't mean that we give up on the plan that God has for them. And what did our ultimate Father do? He said that, I know the plans that I have for you. They're plans to prosper you, not to harm you, to give you a hope, to give you a future. So maybe you're sitting in here today with every head bowed and every eye closed. You would say, Josh, I just need you to pray for me. I want to be present for my kids. I want to be patient for them. I want to be kind to them. If that's you, I want you to raise your hand with me because I'm raising it right along with you. Jesus, you've seen all these hands in this room today. Lord, I thank you that my children have showed me how selfish I really can be. I'm thankful that, Jesus, you set the example for us that you came to serve, not to be served. Lord, would you help us find a way to be present? Be present when we're gone and be present when we're there. For us to be patient. For us to move at the pace of our kids, of our family. And to help us to be kind. God, help us to breathe life into those in our home, not destruction. But God, I'm so thankful this morning as many of us have raised our hands seeking guidance and help to be the ultimate parent, the ultimate kid raiser. Because honestly, we all have that opportunity. I'm thankful that you saw the imperfect person perfectly. God, would we do the same in our homes? Would we give that same benefit of the doubt that you've given us to those that we wake up and see every morning? Your mercies are new every day. What if ours were too? God, help us to live out the forgiveness and the mercy and the grace that you have so given to us that we are so unworthy to have. Lord, we'll give you all the praise. Would you help us? I'd love for you to open your eyes for just a moment. I have a challenge. The first one was the Be Present challenge. I'd love for you to all take part in that. The second one, though, is we have been made aware of a great need of someone in our community. This family is unexpectedly taking on a couple of more kids to help and be a part of their lives, and they have nothing to raise them. They have nothing to help, with as far as things and clothes, diapers, wipes, all the things that you need to help raise a 20-month-old and an 8-month-old. They ain't got it. We were made aware of this situation, and we said, our New Covenant family will step up. We know that they will. And so on your way out, there's a list that you can grab off of the check-in table, has all the necessary things that you can bring. We're also going to post this on our social media pages. On there, you'll see times that you can drop those things off throughout the week. This family is very much about taking hand-me-downs. Like, don't worry if it's not new and you were going to go take it and donate it, bring it to us so that they can use it. They're in great need. I think we can meet it. I know our church can do it. I've seen you do it, and I want you to help step up and do this. And so please grab one on your way out today to help this family in need. And as always, if you want to give in person in the room, you can do so at the back of the room. If not, keep doing so online. Final week, next week of Win at Home, growing up and getting old. We're going to have a good time with it. Exit as quickly as you can as we prepare for the 11:30 service. Have an awesome week. We love you.